Hello, my name is Gil Penalosa, and this is Cities for Everyone, the webinar. Every other Tuesday, I invite fascinating people from around the world to share experiences and knowledge that will help us create affordable, equitable, and sustainable cities. I was born in Bogota, Colombia, where as commissioner, I led the design and construction of over 200 parks and took a small program called Ciclovia, Open Streets, and increased it to over 120 kilometers, 75 miles of car-free streets every Sunday and holiday, where more than 1 million people walk, bike, run, shop, enjoying the presence of each other. 17 years ago, I created 880 Cities, a non-profit organization based in Toronto, Canada, where I live. Last year, I ran for mayor and came second with 100,000 votes. My aim was to change the conversation in creating a Toronto for everyone. I've been fortunate to have worked in over 350 cities in all continents, sharing and learning. Based on all experiences, I developed master classes and keynotes customized to each city. But Cities for Everyone, the webinar, is a way of giving back. It's always free and hopefully always interesting. Please invite others to join us every other Tuesday, anyone who cares about cities and people, equity and sustainability, about all living older, healthier, and happier. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. We have people today from dozens and dozens of cities from all over the world. We have a fantastic presentation today. It's the 15-minute city, and our guest is Carlos Moreno, who is the leader in Paris, close advisor to Mayor Anne Hidalgo, and now is advising cities around the world. Well, the 15-minute city, everybody's talking about it, but very few really know what it is, how to do it, what are the steps, how do you know if you are a 15-minute city, what do you know, what is next? As an example, for thousands and thousands of years, the cities everywhere in the world were 15-minute cities. And then the car arrived. And when the car arrived, people started living further away, more sprawl, subdividing, and then they were no longer 15-minute city. 15-minute city where people can actually walk to all of their basic needs. The schools and the parks and public transit and restaurants and the grocery stores. Maybe when the car arrived, we should have done separate networks of streets for people to walk and bike and use public transit, and other networks for private cars. But we didn't do it. So how do we retrofit the cities? How to retrofit the downtowns? How do we retrofit the suburbs? How do we do it? So I'm very happy that Carlos has accepted the invitation. He is in Paris as professor of Sorbonne. We're going to have his bio on the chat. Carlos, welcome.
Thank you, dear Gil, for this kind of invitation. I'm so happy as well to be today in this webinar. Thank you for everyone for coming. It's a great pleasure for discussing today on this concept, proximities, happy proximity, 50-minute city, 30 minutes territory. I will share my screen for illustrating this 50-minute city concept. Gil, I wanted to take my time by this time, not only for explaining this concept. I wanted to share with you how could we develop a new path, a new trajectory. Gil, you have totally right. That is not enough to say, I want a 15-minute city. The real question today is how could we implement, how could we transform into a new reality this concept for transforming even radically our urban life. For that, I called this webinar the 50-minute city, the revolution of proximities from concept to reality. It's very important today to observe in our reality how could we implement this concept. Of course, Gil, you said as well, we are very, very happy to receive a lot of different awards around the world for this concept. And in particular, when I received the Scroll of Honor 2022, this is the award of UN Habitat. And we are very happy to have this mention. The 50-minute city has become a global initiative. This is not only a concept, because this concept in reality has been spreading around the world for offering a new urban and territorial narrative in order to mobilize citizen dwellers, stakeholders, local governance for building a new trajectory for a more sustainable urban development and to contribute to implement the new urban agenda in this post-COVID-19 crisis. One of the strategic point of the 50-minute city concept is our capability for be implemented regardless of the size or the density of the city or territories target. This is a real innovation. This is a particular breakthrough. For a long time, a lot of different models or proposals for being implemented in cities on territory dependent or have a lot of dependency of the size, of the density, even of the shape of the territory of cities. The 50-minute city, the 30-minute territory, our model of happy proximities have this capability for being implemented in different territorial urban context, at the same time in different social, economical, cultural, different concepts. Why? In fact, the 50-minute city strategy, the happy proximities strategy, is a concept for implementing a cross-sectorial approach based on a redesign of the quality of life. We have coined this term, the high quality of societal life. This is the first point. This is the significant point. This is not important, the number 15 or 18 or 23 or 32. The strategic point in our concept is, before above, the redefinition of the quality of life in this holistic way, the high quality of societal life, for having more green and thriving neighborhood in a cross-sectorial approach. Complete neighborhood, people street, connected places, inclusive community, urban nature, green energy building, clean construction, circular resources, sustainable life, green and economy. The second point, this is necessary to understand very, very clear. Proximities is not only a metrical proximity. This is not only distances, measures and meters on kilometers or on miles. We have developed a new concept based on the new proximities. The new proximities are with a lot of different characteristics. Of course, spatial proximities, distances, but we have as well the social proximities, cultural proximities, cognitive proximities, emotional proximities, friendly proximities, digital proximities. We could have a long distances and to have a proximity by the digital technologies. The concept of the 15-minute city or the 30-minute territory, we wanted to develop in a context of a complex city, a new kind of neighborhood based on this idea for building this grid city with a lot of different neighborhood interconnecting for developing this physical and digital interconnected network for living differently, for changing radically our urban and territorial lifestyle. We consider that neighborhoods are today the more significant opportunity for transforming really our urban and territorial lifestyles. If we wanted to put it in a nutshell, the 50-minute city, we said this is a new vision for developing a polycentric city or a polycentric territory with a capability for offering a lot of different services, a polycentric and multi-services city. With this decarbonized mobility on foot, by bike, for accessing within a short perimeter to the different services. One of the consequences of the 50-minute concept is in fact to open a global discussions in all continents and to foster practices on the vital importance of proximity for transforming concretely our urban and territorial lives. One of the concrete changes with the urban and territorial happy proximity with the 50-minute city and 30-minute territory, this is an incredible, amazing capability for reconcile the new path for sustainability and on the other hand, to increase the quality of life. We need to develop a long-term policy for fighting against climate change, for escaping to fossil energies. And at the same time, in the daily life, we need to continue to increase the quality of life. In regard of this traditional opposition, the long term for sustainability and the short term for the quality of life, the 50-minute city open in a new way for reconciling the concrete actions for transforming the daily life to increase the quality of life, and at the same time to embrace this trajectory, this path of sustainability for fighting against climate change. With the C40 Cities global network, the network of big metropolises for fighting against climate change, we have created, after the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, a strong cooperation for 3 years. After the beginning of the pandemic, we have been developing a very intensive collaboration. And today we have around the world this transformation for the theoretical concept to the reality. I have started this research in 2010. Today, in 2022 or 2023, we have a great success, not only in the theoretical framework, but as well in the concrete transformations in a lot of cities around the world. The C40 Cities is the global network of the big metropolises, but we have started a strong collaboration with the United Cities and local governments for having the possibility for implementing as well this concept in medium cities, in small cities, even in rurality. This is the case of the UCLG worldwide association. And this is very interesting because the UCLG organization defines the 50-minute city in just a sentence to provide essential services accessible to all in proximities with the least amount of travel. This is very, very concrete and precise, in fact, definition of the target of the 15-minute city concept. Another strategic point is the benefits for having more healthy cities. The World Health Organizations during the pandemic in December 2020 said the 15-minute city, this is a new strategy for using an intensive public space focused on creating economic, ecological, and social value for society. And I wanted to highlight this element of the World Health Organization because the 50-minute city, this is not enough to transform the traffic plans in cities. This is not enough to reconquer public space. This is not enough to reconquer public spaces for promoting active mobilities on foot or by bike. The 50-minute city wants, in fact, to create more economical, ecological, and social value. And for that, we need to reconquer public spaces, we need to develop local jobs, we need to develop a local economy, we need to develop a social inclusion, gender equity, interdirectional activities. And at the same time, the mix, the convergence of this element contribute to develop more healthy cities. The IPCC, the scientists in charge of the policies for mitigations and to fight against climate change, on April 2022 said the 50-minute city is the possibility for offering this urban lifestyle for increasing locational and to develop the new mobility options. And the IPCC said in April 2022, the 50-minute city, this is a new strategy, not only for having more reduction of CO2 emissions, but to implement, to represent an important cascading effect in the urban life. For finishing, the World Urban Forum, UN Habitat, in the World Cities Report of 2022, advised for adopting the 50-minute city concept by the different local governors, mayors, or presidents of metropolises in the same way. How could you offer in the daily needs more services and consider the 50-minute city with a journey? The UN Habitat invite mayors for embracing this concept and to be implemented. The Open Award jury in 2021 said, in fact, the 50-minute city arrived as the right concept in the right time. Yes, of course, we consider that with the 50-minute city concept, this is the great worldwide opportunity for turning definitely the page of the zoning, the page of the segregated urbanism, to turning the page of the Athens chart, to turning the page of the Le Corbusier architecture based on these longer distances in cities with the specialized zone. The 50-minute city is this new capability for developing this complete city. With the 50-minute city, we have proposed a new urban and territorial narrative for showing this evidence for more than 7 decades with the Le Corbusier urbanism, with the zoning. We have developed segmented, fractured, zoned, unequal cities. Why? Because we have accepted the unacceptable. Daily long commute, misuse buildings with the single functions, the tremendous loss of social interactions. With the 50-minute city, with the same urban and territorial narrative available for local governance, for stakeholders, for economical actors, for citizen dwellers, we proposed to develop a new trajectory, a new journey for having a happy life in a happy city based on a massive mix of users, on social categories within proximity. In 2022, at the beginning in 2023, we have, after the pandemic, a radical change in the work style around the world. This is in New York City, November 2022. We have this depopulation of the corporate towers, the corporate business district. The future of work, it's today are running for changing totally, even for workers without telework. The new expressions, quite quitting, for example. In most countries today, a lot of people prefer to resign for a job instead of to have a daily long commute in the poor conditions. The International Workplace, the Federation of the Business of the Working Real Estate, said the 15-minute commute is the new work paradigm for the 21st century. We will become the aliens if we continue to have more time spent just for a daily commute. For understanding how could we develop a powerful project, we need only to keep in mind this slide. The 50-minute city is a polycentric city for proposing high quality societal life in the path for a sustainable city based on this multi-service city in proximities to create the new add value for having a city with the ecological and economical social positive impact in order to transform our cities and territories in a livable, viable, and equitable cities and territories. This is our real target. I'm coined the term of 50-minute city, the 30 minutes territory. I have developed the new ontologic model based on the mix of the urban social functions, but at the same time, my scientific contributions. This is a contributions in the very significant movement for more than 1 century of lot of different peoples. Clarence Perry, the new urbanism, the new pedestrianism, Lewis Mumford, recently Hartmut Rosa, the Pritzker Prize Aldo Rossi, the French urbanist François Cher, my master of complexity, Edgar Morin, and at the center, of course, Jane Jacobs. And we need to pay tribute to Jane Jacobs for developing this hybridization between a vision and a commitment. But 30 years after Jane Jacobs, in November 2022, we have reached 8 billion people on our planet. And at the same time, we have overexceeded 420 ppm of CO2. We have a dramatic situation today in our planet. This is the Anthropocene era. And the role of cities is the central role in the condition for developing this, not climate change, for having this climate emergency. You are in North America. You are in North America, you are in Latin America, you are in Europe, you are in Asia, and the rate of urbanization in the last 5 decades have increased. This is very impressive today. The role of cities is central today because cities are the most significant contributor on CO2 emissions. It is impossible today to fight against climate change, to develop the winning strategies in adaptation or mitigation, without to consider not only the role of cities, but the role of each one of us with our own urban and territorial lifestyles. The climate emergency is a global threat for our collective urban and territorial lives, but at the same time, it's our responsibility in each one of cities, in each one of territories, for developing a radical change, because our cities, our territories are unsustainable. With the climate emergency, with the COVID-19, we are in phase 2, a real planetary crisis. The climate emergency, and with the COVID-19, the sanitary crisis. Unfortunately, at the beginning of 2022, with the Russian attack in Ukraine, we have this energy crisis. You have this difficulty for accessing to raw materials, inflation. In reality today, more than ever, we need to develop less dependencies, more local activities, more local economies, more short circuits, more energy efficiency. This is the target of the 15-minute city. But our planet is not only an urbanized planet, it's at the same time a hyper-connected world. The 15-minute city is the convergence for fighting for a new urban lifestyle in an urbanized world, in order to humanize it and at the same time to use the new technologies, to use the digital technologies, to use the digital connectivity. Not more for having zombie geeks. The zombie geeks are the people hyper-connected with technologies and totally social disconnected. The 50-minute city, this is a concrete way for more livable cities with the priority for humanizing cities. The pillar of the 15-minute city and the 30-minute territory are three elements. The chrono-urbanism, a new rhythm of the city for fighting against the long commute. The second one, the chronotopia, for developing the multi-purpose functions. 1 square meter, multiple users, each one of new users, the new possibles. And the third one, the topophilia, for developing a new urban culture, for loving our places, our streets, our different square meters in the city. We needed to transform our cities for more capability, for more by capability. This is the case in Paris. This is the case in Milano, Piazza Loreto, and roundabout has become today new places. This is the case in Colombia. But I said it is not enough. It is not enough to transform infrastructures for become social infrastructures. This is the case of the square of the pedestrian areas. This is the case of the bike lanes. How could we transform an infrastructure in a social infrastructure? But this is not enough. We need to go beyond. We need to transform in reality the quality of life. The quality of life depends on the presence or absence of the local services for citizens, regardless of the size of the density, for having the citizen dwellers with a lot of different accessibilities to the services. The 50-minute city, in fact, is this continuity of the proposal of James Jacobs. A city is alive when everywhere, every time, we have the possibility for having a choice without spending time and without to take a car. The 50-minute city is this idea for offering anywhere, anytime, lot of different choices for satisfying my essential needs. This is the paradigm of the 50-minute city in order to offer a new urban and territorial framework based on a different relationship between the urban spaces and the useful time. When, for the first time, I proposed the 50-minute city in 2016, after the COP21 in Paris, a polycentric city, lot of different proximities, lot of different mixities, social mixities, functional mixities, gender and intergenerational, to develop density for having this possibility for mutualizing services, and ubiquity for using digital technologies for developing more services. In fact, in the traditional urbanism, we have cities on the one hand, people on the other hand, at the center, infrastructures. We have transformed this paradigm with a complete methodology with the different tools for implementing between the cities and people. We have the neighborhood. The powerful of neighborhood today for transforming our territory in a polycentric territory, for transforming our daily lives, for fighting against the daily commute, for developing more accessibility for a lot of decentralized equipment, for developing new isochronous mapping, and to have a real high quality of life. This is the core of the 50-minute city. The core of the 50-minute city is based on this new term invented by me, by myself, the social circularity. The social circularity, do you observe at the center this circle with 6 different colors? To live, to work, to supply, to care, to learn, to enjoy. This is the essence of the 50-minute city. One color for each one of essential social or territorial functions, to live in the good conditions, to work without a long commute, to supply with the local commerce, local jobs, local economy, to care with the physical and mental health, to learn, for accessing to education, to culture, to entertainment, and to enjoy in the public space without pollution, without air and water polluted, and revitalization. We have proposed this matrix, the high quality societal life. On the one hand, we have 6 essential functions. On the other hand, we have 3 new indicators: my personal well-being, myself and my family. The second one, my sociability with my neighbors and my work colleagues. And the first one, my daily ecological attitude and my otherness. And the magical results of the 50-minute city is when we have the possibility for taking whole city, whole territory, for combining the different colors in the different places of my city. I called that the 50-minute city for having an access on foot or by bike in the compact zone on 50 minutes. And I call the 30 minutes territory. This is the same ontological model by an accessibility in the medium and low density. In this case, we need to include vehicles, electrical vehicles, on-demand transport, virtual lines, etc. The social circularity is this capability when we have the possibility for examining a city, the colors are totally placed with the long distances. In the 50-minute city, we have the possibility to create this new circle with the mix of color. The 50-minute city is this capability for mixing the different social functions with the most short perimeter as possible. We have the possibility for redefining the city, no more infrastructure, but by social functions. This is a different way for imagining how could we develop intersections, uses, services, infrastructures, and how could we mutualize infrastructures for offering the increase of my well-being, my sociability, and my sustainable planet. The motto of the 50-minute city is a massive mixity within proximities, and for that, let's generate intersections. The 50-minute city, the 30-minute territory is the whole place for generating a lot of different intersections, for reinventing a polycentric and multipurpose vicinity, 100 meters, 200 meters, 500 meters, 2 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers. This is, in general, the perimeter, the radius for a metropolis. This is a vision, this is a methodology, and we have today a lot of different implementations. Zurich has decided, for example, to launch a referendum. And this is the case in December 2021. Zurich has voted by a referendum to transform the city with 32 new different centralities. Busan in Korea has decided to launch a program by the mayor. In Buenos Aires has decided to modify the urbanismo code for implementing. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, embraced this idea before the COVID-19 in 2019, because during 2 years, from 2016 until 2018, I have experimented in 3 districts in Paris the transformations supported by the 50-minute city plan. The mayor of Paris embraced the 50-minute city concept in 2019, and he proposed this concept for electoral campaign at the beginning of 2020. And in March of 2020, we have, of course, we have impacted by the COVID-19 with a lot of different consequences. We need, for exploring the 50-minute city, powerful digital tools, because we need to explore the hidden resources. We have, in fact, a lot of different services in proximities, but in a lot of cases, we have ignored the presence of the different resources. We have developed, with my team at Sorbonne University, a digital platform based on the ontologic model of the 6 essential urban functions for decomposing in user services infrastructures, and to explore 100 by 100 meters each one of different user service infrastructures, and to match with the different needs. The city of Paris has decided to implement the 50-minute city in the long term. And for that, this year, in 2023, we will vote the new bioclimate local urban plan for including the transformation of the 50-minute city in this way. We have 2 axes. It's very important to understand how could we develop this transformation. The first one, the transformation, is the transformation of the local governance. It is not possible to develop this massive decentralization. The mayor of Paris said the 50-minute city is the big bang of proximity. For that, we needed to transform our local governance. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, has decided, immediately won the electoral campaign, to deploy a new local governance of the municipal public policies. This is an invisible transformation, because we need to break the vertical governance for having a governance with the local matrix for the governance. The second point is, of course, to propose a common backbone of the hyper-local services. This is a trajectory. If you have the possibility to be connected to the website of the City of Paris, paris.fr, paris.fr, do you note now, since this beginning of year, the new item, how could we transform, how our proximity is transformed? And for each one of districts, we offer the visibility of the each one of different transformation in this proximity. But this is not only the case of the City of Paris. The City of Buenos Aires has decided to integrate the multi-purpose functions, the multi-uses in the city's urban code. In Africa, in a small city in Tunisia, the new local development plan has integrated now the proximity with the 50-minute city. In Mexico, the National Fund for Social Housing has voted a new law, the 2.5 kilometer services, because all programs for building or rebuilding social housing need today to propose the services in a radius less than 5 kilometers. In China, in Chengdu, the first master plan for the 50-minute city community life circle, with today 60 new cities. In France, in the rural town, 4,500 inhabitants, 14 square kilometers. The mayor has decided to implement for 2 years the 50-minute city. In Poland, the mayor of Plzew, for 2 years, in a small city, 15,000 inhabitants, has implemented alone, without my team, just downloaded the open source of our methodological guide. Just for finishing in Paris concretely, this is the transformation of the public spaces, 1,200 kilometers with the protected lines for biking and the public municipal services of the bike sharing. We have transformed the public space for pedestrian and bikeable mobilities in the Paris center. But with the 50-minute city, we need to go beyond the transformation of the infrastructures in social infrastructures. We need to implement the new social functions. For example, this is the first measure took by the mayor of Paris after COVID. The school is the capital of the neighborhood. We have in Paris 169 schools. Each school is only 100 meters. We have transformed the different schools in the oasis garden for the climate resilience. We have decided at the same time to open the schoolyards during the weekend for the neighborhood activities. We have created the school street. We have decided for each one of 169 schools in Paris to ban cars in the street that surround the school and to transform in public spaces for developing social activities. But this is not enough. We need to impact with the 50-minute city the local economy. For that, we have created a company subsidiary of the city of Paris for supporting local shops, for developing local commerce, for considering that the local commerce as a common good. And for that, this company subsidiary, this is a commercial property of the city of Paris. Our role is to buy square meters, to buy locations, and to rent with the price for the locations below the price of the speculative real estate market. And in this way, we have the possibility to install different local shops in the different districts, even in the very expensive district with the libraries, with the bakeries, with the artisan, etc. This is very, very significant because this is the possibility for fostering the local economy, for creating local jobs, for creating local circuits. This is the very, very great program in the 50-minute city in Paris. The name is Beautify Your Neighborhood. This is a participatory project. This is a great, great success. We have today 16 neighborhoods with 30,000 inhabitants involved for proposing the transformation in the public spaces, in the social activities, in the local activities, and in the cultural activities. I said that this is very, very important. We need to go beyond the transformation of the public space. We need to impact with the 50-minute city the economical activities, the social activities, for having this triple convergence, a more livable city, more viable economical city, a more equitable city. This week, in January, this is the week of the participatory budget. 20% of the investment budget for the city of Paris is oriented for fostering people to submit projects to take part in elections, and the winner projects, of course, will founded by the city. This is the most important participatory budget in a city in the world, and this is a 1 year of for working for that, for fostering people to propose different projects, associations, and after the elections to realize this project. For finishing, this is a strategic in our city, in all cities which have decided to embrace the 50th city, to develop the social mixity, to transform the office building in social housing and mixed use. The city of Paris is today in a totally exemplarity about it. We have launched an intensive project for installing 20% of social mixity in all districts, in very expensive districts, for creating this, having this strong mixity. For finishing, I could say that the 50-minute city, the 30-minute territory, is a vision, a strategy. This is a methodology, and we have a lot of different tools for fostering people in this implementation. for having a more peaceful city, green streets, mobility on foot or by bike, shopping close to home, accessing to multiple services, to develop the new locations for working close to home, to having the multipurpose locations, to transform each one of areas of the city multi-services areas, to develop health services in proximity, to take care of elderly people and fragile people. The digital tools for us is one powerful ally, because this is the possibility for elaborating new strategies, for making territorial diagnosis, for assessing assumptions, and formulating transformating strategies in the short, middle, and long term in the coherence of the time. This is an example we have the possibility for exploring with our digital maps, with our methodology, with our ontologic model, with the uses infrastructures for be connected to different urban database for exploring 50 minutes walk, bike, a car, 30 minutes, and to elaborating the new territory and urban projects. We have launched for a year this new tool, the Proximity Fresque. This is a creative workshop to imagine the transformation with the 15-minute city and the 30-minute territory. This is a complete package, multi-languages, Spanish, French, English, Portuguese. And this is a great success for discussing with citizen dwellers, discussing with stakeholders, discussing with local governors. How could we concretely transform our cities if we have decided to implement the 50-minute city or the 30 minutes or the 60 minutes territory? One of the important points is to elaborate different profiles, because the 50-minute city, the 30-minute territory is not the same for children, for a teenager, for a single woman with children, for a couple without children, for the elderly people, disabled, or we need to define different profiles for implementing that in the 50-minute city. The areas is not the same 50-minute city on work. This is not the same 50-minute city on mechanical bike. This is not the same 50-minute city in electrical bike. And we need to develop a complex matrix for imagining how could rebalance my services in order to offer services for the different category of the population with the different possibilities on foot, on a mechanical bike, on electrical bike. The Global Observatory of Proximity was launched during the last World Urban Forum. This is the new tool, powerful tool, UN Habitat, C40 Cities, UCLG, Smart City Expo World Congress, with my ETI chair. We have launched this Global Observatory of Proximities for 4 activities, the best practices around the world, the coordination exchange between researchers in the 50-minute city theory, to launch new initiatives. We will launch a new call for proposal with the C40 cities in different continents, and to develop the new benchmarking and indicators. You are welcome to join the Global Observatory of Proximities, of course, because we will create in different regions around the world, different hubs for developing this worldwide community of happy proximities. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure for myself and for my ETI labs at Sorbonne University to share with you. And we have continuing to explore proximities.
Carlos, thank you. Thank you. It has been a fantastic presentation showing the what, the how, specific examples of Paris, the concept of proximity, the concept of how density is engaged. Also, how part of it is the 15-minute city is how to use all the infrastructure that we have in many, many uses. So as the example that you mentioned, the schools being the capital of the neighborhood, the heart of the neighborhood. The school should have multiple uses. Maybe from 8 to 4, it's only for the students, but in the evening could be community hubs, and Saturdays and Sundays, and maybe even the streets in front of the school should be only to walk during the time when the kids are there. How should be interwoven the schools and the libraries and the streets and the sidewalks. And I loved how you were talking about the greening and how all of this has multiple benefits to mental and physical health, to economic development, to be living healthier and happier, and how this 15-minute city can be done in large cities and small ones, in wealthy cities and smaller ones. But also we need to keep in mind concepts as basic as equity and sustainability. Carlos, thank you very much. People from all over the world have been connected throughout this hour, and many of them are going to come back and see it again. They can come to gpenalosa.ca to view again the 15-minute city, as well as any of our 30 sessions that we have had in the past. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you in 2 weeks in Cities for Everyone, the webinar.